Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to another edition of Track Walk and MX Simulator, where today we're playing a track called Not Another Test Track by Stay Down. I know, what the hell, another test track? There's so many of them in this game, like a lot of the replicas of the KTM and Suzuki and Yamaha and Kawasaki and blah 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 test tracks in Corona, but also just in general people that build, Milestone SX and a various amount of other, Supercross practice tracks in this game. But this one's a custom one, so I figured, kind of a cool custom little Supercross made by Stay Down. It's a little old, I think it's over a year old now, but still somewhat relevant. And the thing that I kind of like about it the most is that I feel like it's pretty beginner friendly, like it's not too much of a challenge to do pretty much the entire track with relative ease. Like you can, I'm gonna go through the next lap here and kind of take some easier lines so you can see that it's not too hard to get around. Obviously I'm on a 450, so everything you'd have to hit a little bit harder on a 250, but like I said, not too challenging, and it's a pretty nice looking track anyway, like visually wise. Like see this first section, you can just come through, it's pretty easy to double in. You could like double this, then jump on off here, and he makes the offs really easy to do. The Dragon's back isn't too tough because it's not very big. The triple is kind of small, I guess, and then just another easy on off, and he builds that lip like I said, so the offs are easy to do. The whoops are really small, which makes them challenging, but like first gear wide open on a 450, get through them no problem. And then the berms are really wide as well, like they aren't like really tight 180s, they're kind of almost like sweeper berms. So it's really easy to carry momentum through, but again, just, on, off. Even here it's pretty easy to triple out. And then a sand section, multiple lines, but I mean inside line here is pretty OP. And the sand is fun too, like it's pretty well built. In general, it's just a nice little Supercross track here. So, for those of you that are sort of beginners out there at this game, or maybe not necessarily keen to trying out really difficult tracks with really big rhythm sections, this might be a good track for you because it's kind of smaller, a little bit more compact. The rhythm sections aren't gnarly to get through. There's still 2 Supercross triples. Like in general, it just is fairly easy to get through and a fun little track to kind of test on and get used to, a little bit of Supercross in this game. It's not like this is going to prepare you to race an RF Supercross race or anything like that, but it'll get you used to, attacking corners, like big sweeping corners like this. It helps you with corner speed because you can carry so much speed through it that eventually you'll learn how to do that in a tighter corner where you can kind of lay it over and feel really comfortable about the edge of the limit that you're pushing and stuff like that. So it's nice that there is a track out there that's kind of like this, that isn't the gnarly, crazy, difficult rhythm sections all over the place, and just pretty simple to get through, simple to ride, and looks pretty good too. Like, I like this right here. It looks like a water main is broken, but this guy's just laying down water, hosing down the track and soaking it up. I don't think the traction's any different through there. It might be, but there's also pretty much the same thing going on later in the lap that I will also show you. It's like 2 corners after this one. But yeah, cool little track. Another Stay Down track. We already did a Stay Down track pretty recently. We've done Horsing Around before, and then we did shoot, I forget what it's called, but we did it pretty recently. So here's another guy hanging out from the back of a water truck, just spinning water out wherever he can lay it down. And it is a billboard file, so the water moves around a bunch, like you can see there. And then it's kind of interesting that he has like a what are those called, like cherry lifts or whatever they're called, easy lifts, and he has a guy with a camera on top of it. I don't know if that's like specifically he was trying to point out like, well, you could put this guy here and he is a cameraman for the track or whatever. But well, actually I can't do that because I'm not in playback mode, but I was gonna look and see if there is a camera mode. Well, could I do that? Let's go to free cam. That's right, I can't. Yep, can't do it if I'm not in playback. Never mind. There might be cameras, but I don't know. Cameras were already out plenty in time before this track was released, so maybe he put a camera up there. I have no idea. Basically, you just when you're in the playback demo, hit tab until you go to your free cam and hit sit dab so it locks onto a rider, usually you if you're only riding by yourself, and then hit 1 on the number pad and it'll lock onto the first camera, but then it'll immediately change and go to whatever camera you're nearest to and then follow you around. If there is only one camera, then it locks onto the only camera. But if you're confused about anything I just said right there, we have a lengthy cameras tutorial on this channel that you can certainly check out and learn more about if you're like, what even English is that? So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense for you. Trying to think what else I can do on this track that might be interesting. I'm kind of just hitting the same lines. Obviously, it's really basic test track. On a 450, it's pretty easy to quad some of these things because you're coming out of just like the biggest bowl corner ever. I wonder if there's any cool transfers I could hit too. I'll look around while I'm riding and see what I can come up with to maybe hit. What's nice about this track, and kind of stemming off of last week's track walk, which was at the Nicholas Sandbox Supercross track, which, as I mentioned in that last one, is very computer intensive, graphically intensive because of the type of skin maps and stuff on it, and the magnitude of the stadium and the statue files and all that stuff like that. This track, on the other hand, very simple on a entirely flat ground, no stadium, minimalistic objects. The decals still look good. I mean, the environment still looks pretty good, but it's a small track, so I'd imagine that pretty much anybody could actually download this track. And, you know, maybe if you don't have the best computer, you have to turn your graphics down a little bit, but not too tough of a track to download and good for beginners, like I said. So if you're just picking up the game and you're like, well, I want to try something out, but I don't really know how to get into it and stuff like that, possibly a good track to test and see where you're at and see graphics-wise what you can do. Problem about this game most of the time is you do have to do a lot of kind of trial and error that people don't like to do. A lot of people that I see pick up this game and then immediately throw a lot of backlash to it, hate it, whatever. Basically just don't like the amount of work that you have to do to get anything done in this game. And I get it, like it's a video game. You want to just kind of pick it up and play it at some point, but you also have to understand it is supposed to be a simulator, and just like a flight simulator or a car racing simulator, you can't just plug in and go potato like no problem. Like if you tried to do that in Flight Sim and had no idea what you were doing, you wouldn't even taxi the plane because you'd blow the engines up sitting on the freaking runway or something like that, But in this game, obviously, it's a little bit easier to just kind of, log on, put a bike in game and try to go, and you'll crash a lot, but it's still easy to not like blow the bike up immediately or whatever. So, but like I said, trial and error wise, you have to really kind of figure out graphics wise what you can withstand on your computer, and how to get onto online servers easier and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of little ins and outs about this game that are challenging for the layperson to understand, but pretty easy for us people that are well into the game and developed along it and stuff like that. So it just takes time. It's a process. I'm sure that most people that pick up this game when they first play it are kind of like, what the hell? Personally, when I first picked it up, I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing ever, because honestly, when I picked it up, I was all about like, I want to play a bunch of cool custom tracks, like as many freaking awesome, gnarly tracks that I can find, all different types of Supercross designs and layouts and stuff like that. Because I was really interested in track design. Like when I was younger, I was actually drawing track maps and stuff just out of my brain, and I always thought it'd be really cool if I was that guy at the Feld Track Crew / Dirtworks that was the one designing the tracks. But so I always had like a keen interest on what the tracks in games were like, and that's kind of why I really liked MX vs. ATV Untamed, because there were some really unique custom tracks on that game too, which I liked. Like they were obviously built by the developers, but there were so many different types of tracks that I really did actually kind of like it, the way that they did it. But then obviously you hit a point where it's like, wow, I played this track 100 times, let's do something different. And that's what I love about MX Simulator, is that there's so many different tracks to play. I mean, we're 124 track walks in. I haven't repeated basically a single track other than a couple national tracks that are almost identical to each other, because national tracks aren't going to change that much. And for the first 2 years of track walk, we were doing replica tracks during the regular season. But always new Supercross tracks, tons and tons of custom tracks. I think I'm trying to think, but there's probably about 50 pages of tracks on the forums now. And I think that there is about 50 posts per page of that. And so if you seed out maybe like 5 pages of that is just gibberish that people actually didn't post a track, but they just posted some crap on there, then you have 45 pages with 50 tracks on each page, and my brain can't math right now, but I assume that's pretty close to 20, I think it's 2250, I want to say. So 2,250 tracks on the forums right now. And that's just the forums. I mean, people have released tracks elsewhere, either on Facebook or in a video on YouTube, or back in the old days on Pure MXS. So there's so many tracks available to you, and so many ways to find them. And my recommendation to everybody that wants to find a good track is to go to puremxs.com, or not puremxs, I just said that. Go to tmfactory-racing.com, which is a really great website that kind of organizes tracks into certain disciplines. They have a section for tracks from 2015 to 2017 that are custom tracks, and anything from pre-2015 that are also custom tracks. And then they have all the AMA tracks, the GP tracks, all the AMA, or not all, but a fair chunk of the AMA rider skins and GP rider skins, and also just general skins that have been released to the public. It's a really, really nice kind of database of everything, and it's simple to get around because they just have easy to use tabs at the top of the page and stuff like that. So I try to link people to that site when I can, because it's nice that they put some effort into making it a little bit more organized for us that aren't inclined to go on the forums and find stuff all the time. I'm really familiar with the MX Simulator forums, so it's pretty easy for me to say like, oh yeah, just blah blah blah, find it on the forums or whatever. But I understand there's people out there that don't really get that involved in the MX Simulator forums and don't want to be for whatever reason, and I understand that. So that's why I recommend a place like TM Factory Racing, because they have a really good database of everything, and it links you to the forums most of the time, but that way you know exactly what you're clicking on will link to what you're looking for on the forums, instead of just like typing something in Google or on the forums themselves and it taking you to something completely different than what you're looking for. So yeah, but it's just like, that's what I loved about it. That's what Sim got me so psyched on, even though the physics were really challenging to learn at first, and like I got it. Like I knew the day I picked it up it wasn't going to be an easy game to learn, so I never like went into it thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be no problem, I'll be able to learn the tracks quick and stuff like that. Like when I started playing the game, just like probably anybody else that played this game, I fell every other straightaway or every straightaway and was having trouble keeping the rider up and stuff like that, but I learned. But in general, I was just like so stoked. I was like, look at all of these cool custom tracks and custom bikes and all of this awesome stuff that you can download and use. Like I talked a little bit in my most recent MXGP2 video about how I'd like to see a lot more customization options available in these new motocross games that are coming out. Perhaps a custom track editor. Like we're at the point now where console games can support track editors. Like there is no question about it, they can, because Grand Theft Auto 5, for example, has huge maps that you have to render up loading every single time, and that was all the way back in PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 days even. So now on PlayStation 4, which has and Xbox One, which have better processing units in them and stuff like that, you should totally be able to have user created stuff that you can upload to a database and then download to play with your friends and stuff like that. And like I said on GTA 5, obviously it's a different story because the developer is a lot huger than a Rainbow or a Milestone and stuff like that, so they have more money to spend on server rates and stuff like that as well. But in general, you can make a custom track, whatever, in Grand Theft Auto 5 and play it with your buddies and upload it to a database and stuff like that. So I wish there was stuff like that on some of our console games, and then obviously just the ability to like really go in and customize your rider. The thing that bothers me the most about MXGP2 customization is that you can't really change the design of much of anything. Like you only get 2 or 3 number fonts to change on the back of your jersey, and 2 or 3 letter fonts to change on the back of your jersey. And I wish that like Thor. So I'm wearing Thor gear in this game, I have the exact Thor name and numbers font that they use on real life custom Thor gear that's on the back of Jason Anderson, Marvin Muscan, etc. Why can't they just put that in a game for, you know, Supercross Encore and whatchamajiggy, the other one, MXGP 2 or 3? Because like that's so simple. Like all it is just basically finding the font and making sure that it's linked to that gear, and it could be like an option on the menu where it says use default gear font or use custom font, and then you can choose whether or not you want to look exactly like the guys that use Thor, or if you want to put some different numbers and stuff like that on it. I just, you know, more customization the better. I think we'll get to that point eventually, but we're still kind of in a little stagnant period where both games are kind of just getting their feet wet and off the ground. MX vs. ATV being bought out by Nordic, it's a whole new ball game for those guys. Even though the Rainbow guys are still in control, there's a lot of different people in charge there now than what used to be. And then Milestone just getting into the realm. You know, 2014 was their first release with the MXGP series games, so we'll see it come, I'm sure, but just got to get it developed. Anyway, that's another track walk, folks. Episode 124 on Not Another Test Track by Stay Down. If you guys like this video, bung it a like, comment your questions and concerns if you have any, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And we'll see you guys in another video, hopefully soon.